Just like math, Catholic calisthenics. Please rise, say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning, everybody. We have some newer staff members in the room, so I think we'll just go around and do introductions. So, my name is Charles Bradsky.
My name's Candace Eklund.
So now, but you already pretty much know who we are, so go ahead.
Jill D. Tomaso, Town Minister.
Tom Schmidt from the Sherwood Town Council.
Andy Hanson, Director of Operations, Town of Sherwood.
Jeff Hewitt, Sherwood Projects Administrator.
Michael Chabo, Engineering Director, City of Valparaiso.
Ryan Lissick, Director in Indiana.
Michael Dell, Town of Chesterton. Kevin Leader, staff.
Tom Vanderwood, Director of Transportation for NERC.
Stephen Hughes, Public Transit and Engagement Planner for NERC.
Ian White, Transportation Programming and Grant System.
Scott Pruitt, Engineer.
Okay, so particularly Ann is going to be assisting me, and as well as Stephen. So I'm happy to have her on, although I'm just trying to figure out, I got to share my work, which I'm so used to doing by myself. So it's anyway. Welcome everybody. Has everyone got a chance to look at the minutes?
Yes, sir. Motion to approve.
Anybody else?
Yeah, dude, I can't. It's got to be Smith.
Why can't you?
Because he's the voting member here.
Yeah.
Okay,
For Sherwood.
I'll second the motion.
okay, Mark. Any comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Are there any public comments?
No.
Okay. Spending plan update. So we are working on this. What we have here is just FY '24, and there's a column of it, '23, but this is mainly FY '24. And what we have plans for this year. We have a surplus of $5 million right now. Because we had a project that was supposed to let in 2024 and had to move out to 2025. So I was able to move some things around. I am in preliminary talks with another MPO to loan out $5 million. I'm hoping that happens because then we'll get that back in 2025. So if we get that back in 2025, then we could probably slide something from 26 forward. And what I've done because this one project in 24 was not able to let, what I've done is I brought things forward. So anybody who had PE in an out year, I kind of slid that forward into 2024. There's several people in here that are getting electric vehicles. And they were in further out years, so I've kind of brought those forward too. So that frees up some extra monies in later years for construction. So I'm kind of hoping that as we go through, we'll move some projects from 26 into 25, 27, or 28, we can slide into 26 if it's workable. I, of course, will talk to the LPAs before I go ahead and make that move, just to make sure that schedule is okay without putting too much stress on your system, whether that's financially or the schedule for the project.
Is there any chance we can get a little of that moved into right away for phase 2 or phase 3?
I have 1.5 million moved into 24.
Wonderful.
So the 1.5 million that was in 25, in order to get that project into move from 24 to 25, I had to move some things around, and I was able to I had to slide that forward and get that out of 25. Otherwise, that project wouldn't go in 25 because we don't have the resources.
Charles, is this you and I and Beth had a conversation, is this the corrected spending plan?
I believe so. Why, is there something that's,
Well, for the pathway project, you know, the Carissa, we'll visit that later,
yeah,
but you made it half. But I thought there was also, last winter, we got additional monies because of the underfunding of the escalation. I don't see that.
I think because I have 3 different lines for that.
Oh, it's hard to tell because I think maybe you drew your line wrong. Is it the 1441 also long?
Yeah, that's in TA.
All right. I thought that was associated with the Lake County project, the way you got your lines drawn.
No. Actually, the line didn't show up as,
Exactly.
so
Okay. So that next line down also.
this 673 is the Lake County project. So I've got so this is not the most, actually when I made this up, this is just a snapshot from the spending plan. I noticed that some of these columns got messed up, so I've got to look at that. I thought I had looked at that, but,
Thank you.
so what Mike is talking about is Thursday after the commission meeting. I received a call from NDOT, and the budget negotiations going on in Washington, as you've heard about the debt ceiling. Congress has pulled back all of the COVID funds that were not obligated, that were not on a PO, an open PO. So we had 1.441 million that we were giving that we had in for Valparaiso's project. So I had to program those before I went home by the end of business on Thursday. So I spent all afternoon Thursday trying to figure out what POs were open, what projects had POs that were open. And then we could put that money so we didn't lose it. So we didn't lose any money per se. But about half of that money I was able to put into projects that I was going to put it into 24. We were given money in 24. So that worked out okay. The other half, I believe, went to Lake County Parks because they had an open PO for right-of-way. So it was unplanned. So, and then of course we had to fund the Valparaiso Trail under our normal funding So I don't think there were a lot of people at NDOT that made it home for dinner on Thursday night, because I think they were trying to program like 40 million, I heard. And the thing is, they've already had their books were closed. So the only thing they could put the money on was for projects that had an open PO. So in our case, we had 3 projects that I could put money on, and I shook all the trees. I've talked to just about, I talked to several people about, and the nice thing is we went through this back in early May when I was trying to figure out where I could, or late April, early May. So I had a good idea, but East Chicago, their trails, their PE got fully funded, and that was coming out of 24, I think. St. John, their PE, that was coming out of 24, and then lastly, I think Lake County Parks. I should be getting a notice sometime later on this week or next week, letting me know that that's been accepted. So I haven't heard anything yet. So NDOT was, like I said, NDOT was trying to figure out where they could put their money. So I think they were taking some, I'm hoping they were taking some liberties. Like, for instance, we didn't do any FEMA's requests or anything like that. We just programmed the monies. Or I just sent an email and they programmed the monies. I think Marcy Lancet, I know she was working at like 7 o'clock and programming those monies. So, but I think she took it out anyway. So anyway, that was the spending plan update. And it kind of gets into other new business there. So we had local quarterly meetings. Like I mentioned, there was one project that was in 24 that wasn't going to be able to let in 24. So that had moved to 25. I do have an admin mod that I'm going to submit for everybody as I go through the quarterly notes, the quarterly minutes, meeting notes. One of the things I noticed going through the quarterly meetings is that there seems to be a disconnect. So I'd like everybody to try to keep that float that float that's in the schedules, your schedules, have that towards the at the end, and not interspaced in between there. So I think there's some disconnect between maybe the town managers or the town officials, I should say, not town managers, but the town officials and the consultants. We try to get things in Q2, but then they end up by sliding because we all know right away isn't going as quick. We all know that the NEPA process is going extremely slow. So please build that into your system now instead of, I mean, we know that 30 days for a NEPA approval review and approval is just ludicrous. So don't plan on 30 days is what I'm saying. Right now it's somewhere between 10 and 20% of all right-of-way is going to condemnation. So if you have 6 parcels, you can plan on 1 or 2 of them going to condemnation. And if it's a business, sometimes a lot of businesses, the only way they operate is under condemnation. So don't be afraid to go to condemnation. I know everybody's got that negative word. They think of condemnation as a negative word. But if you're dealing with business, that may be the most logical choice to go. Granted, if you're taking mom and pa's farm, that's a different story, even though that's a business. But for the most part, a lot of businesses, I guess what I'm saying is don't be afraid to go to the condemnation route. Especially if our schedules are going to be in jeopardy. The reason I say that is because we program in Q2, which is October, November, and December, but then it slides. Something happens and schedules, they slide to February, and then it gets to March, and then it gets to April, which is the last letting. Porter County had a project that went to April and wasn't awardable. And then you're pretty much SOL. Sorry, out of luck. They had to, Porter County, fortunately, I found some money in 24 for Porter County, but this was in this past April. But for about a month, they were wondering when the project was going to let. And my only answer to them was, it's going to go in 29. We'll put it in 29. And if I can move it up, I'll move it up. But if you're talking to an official, that wasn't acceptable, but it was the only answer I can give. So I did find the money, but so they're going to go this year. We did get them programmed in this year. But like I said, if you can't make your letting in that year, then just plan on going to 2029 or 2030 and sitting and waiting. So, that being said, what I tried, as I mentioned earlier, we had this $8 million surplus in 2024. What I tried to do was bring projects forward, bring funding forward. Anybody that had a planning project, I put it in 2024, just to use up some of that money. And that frees up monies in 26 and 27 that we were planning on. We still need to have, and that's my first and foremost, is bring something forward. I know everybody's needs more money on your project for whatever reason. But as T-Rock, we've said in the past, we'll fund the construction as best we can. And then everything else is gravy. If you get any extra money for right-of-way or PE, then that's gravy. Please go ahead and go through the LPA process at NDOT and do an RFP and hire a consultant that way. Because I often have funds at the end of the year, and if you've gone through that process, I can give you some extra funds. But if you don't go through that process, then I can't give you funds. So now everybody's different. Some LPAs don't like doing that and just would rather control that process themselves. And that's fine. But if you're on the fence, just go ahead and go through the process. You can always say no later on. So. And as far as if you want any extra funds, well, we're going to wait till after January or February to see how that lets out. But if you're in there and we have a PO that's open, We could talk, if you want to open a PO, we can talk about that. I can put a token amount of money on a PO, and then therefore I think we can pay in arrears, if that may be the case. But my first and foremost is try to bring things that are in the future years, bring them forward. So, any comments on any of that or questions? Okay. Am I missing anything?
Yes.
Yes.
You have an update on dates and all that, I didn't take update.
With the new tip? Yeah, it'll be up and running in March of 23.
I thought it was this summer you were gonna get it.
What's that?
I thought it was this summer you were gonna get it approved.
Well, oh, the tip. Oh, okay.
All those projects you get the note on.
So, yeah, so what's going on with the tip is and we're not the only ones, there's several MPOs that are under air conformity. In an air conformity maintenance area, kind of like us. So therefore, any projects have to go before the ICG to be approved. Make sure they're not adding any additional burdens to the air quality conformity process. There was kind of in the past, we were using some old numbers, and then the EPA came out and gave us some new guidelines. But since they gave us those new guidelines, they gave us a new program, and we have updated dates. We were using older information, and we have more recent information. So it was kind of a one strike and three outs. So we're correcting all that. And EPA is giving us new numbers. The problem is those new numbers, they were recorded in the Federal Register. So now we have to those new numbers, they're giving us new numbers, and we've agreed on new numbers. It's going to take 30 days, 60 days. I think which one is it?
I think it's like 60 days.
60 days. So it's looking like we're going to have the new numbers in late summer, early fall. So we're going to approve we are going to approve the tip. We're going to submit the tip before the commission in July, conditional on the approval of the air quality conformity. And then we'll get that off to an NDOT in July. Anything with any project with funds in 24 and 25, I put into this past amendment that we put before the commission last week. And then we sent that off to NDOT. So if anybody had projects in 24, 25, even the EV projects, they were in this past amendment. There may be, if there's any additional, we could put it in the July amendment. So, and try to get that worked out. And then I'll just do a technical amendment to carry everything that's in the May amendment and carry that over into the new adoption. So, and that does not need to go before. I'll have to look at our NERC's public participation plan, but I believe a technical amendment does not need to go before the commission. I think it's kind of treated as an admin mod. It does not need to go out for public comment. It's just, we'll just be carrying those through. And the commission, we've already voted on it. They've already gone through public comment period. So that should be easy to carry it over into the new tip.
So you get submitted to NDOT and approved, sounds like it's not gonna be until third quarter.
Probably September, October. Second, yeah. The end of the first quarter of the fiscal year. Third quarter of the calendar year.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
And then what I thought you were talking about was we're working on a new web-based tip. And that's going to be through NDOT, which is going through SPMS. So everybody will have access, a little more access to NDOT's SPMS to review their projects. So, and that should be up, they told me March. So, but sometime, maybe it will be March of 2024. Anyway. Any questions? Is there any other new business? Seeing no other new business, we shall adjourn.
So next meeting August 15th.
August 15th, 2023.
Just a question, would we want to have a meeting before the TBC, before we go to the executive, or does that, you have everything modified? Or you just email it out to us?
The tip,
Yeah.
the amendment, I can email it out. I mean, if we want to meet, do you feel you'd like to meet?
I'm good, but I just didn't know, I mean, what those should be after that.
Is the tip amendment available even though it's not approved technically?
It's available on, if you go to our tip, you can see the tip amendment.
Our tip?
Yeah, if you go into our tip. And there's a public side that I think you can view that at.
Were they from the meeting materials from the meeting? Because it's on NERC's website too.
Yeah, it's on NERC's. Yeah, if you go to NERC's website, you can reach the public side, and you can see the tip amendments there. And that's going to be put in. Well, the adoption will be in July. So, if anybody has an amendment material, then let me know. It'll be, it has to be in by shortly after the 1st of June. So, to get them for the July amendment.
Yes, if there was a question like that EVP project, the additional funds there, that's in the list. So you'll be going through that list.
Right.
to amend it.
I did move all that stuff. It is in an amendment now, so it's just an admin mod to pull it forward. And since we are only working on the 22 to 26 tip, and 26 is illustrative, so I can only talk about projects in 24 and 25. So anything outside of that would have to be an amendment to bring it forward. But I may look at that. So. Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Would you like